I love roller coasters. I assume this was an obvious statement. You must love roller coasters as well since you are watching this video. They are what courses through our veins. With every obsession there are the extremes. In today's video I'll be discussing roller coasters that even me as an enthusiast still terrify me. Honestly, I'm glad that we have roller coasters that trigger some fear in me. It makes the payoff more rewarding, or less, depending on the ride outcome, but overall, it's a rewarding feeling when you conquer something that felt like a challenge to complete. I mean, this is XscreamThrills. I should be talking about the crazy, intense roller coasters. Alright, let's get to the list. Batman the Ride at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. I thought, let's start off with a surprise pick up front. 4D free-spinning coasters really terrify me because of their complete randomness. Each ride can deliver a different experience. Sometimes you find yourself flipping upside down multiple times, while other times you might barely flip over at all. My first and only experience with this coaster model was Batman the Ride at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. My ride took place a couple short years later after riding the worst roller coaster in the world, Green Lantern Ultimate Flight, the thankfully now removed coaster that was at Six Flags Magic Mountain. That roller coaster caused so much pain, I only assumed that these 4D free spinning coasters would deliver a very similar experience. As soon as we started climbing the vertical lift, I instantly started experience PTSD of my ride on Green Lantern. I kept bracing myself throughout the entire ride, expecting to be beaten to a pulp like I was on Green Lantern, but that moment never came. I realized after completing my first ride, these SNS coasters are a much better version than the Intamin design. Even though I successfully rode this roller coaster, I have never ridden this model again. It's the only credit I haven't claimed at Six Flags Great Adventure, though I plan on checking this off my list during my next trip. And Joker at Six Flags New England. I avoided it during my first day at the park, and on the second day when I decided I was silly avoiding it, the ride was closed, to my favor I guess. Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Some of my favorite roller coasters of all time are also mixed in with a healthy dose of fear. Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain can become your worst nightmare, especially if you are afraid of heights. There's something unsettling about staring 150 feet down to the earth below you with nothing between you except the harness that is holding you in place. Yes, I know that these harnesses are extremely secure, so I'm not going anywhere, but unsettling all the same. The people you ride each roller coaster can also set the mood of how you will experience the attraction. My only trip to Six Flags Magic Mountain was with my wife Kara, and she was more anxious than I was, so I had to put on that brave face and convince us both to strap in. I'm glad that we both rode Tatsu because it's one of the best flying roller coasters out there. It's half graceful, half powerhouse with that intense pretzel loop. Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. I remember seeing the announcement for this attraction. I was completely dumbfounded that a roller coaster is being constructed that is over 400 feet tall. The layout looked super simple, but with a max speed of 120 miles an hour and a height of 420 feet, there wasn't any need to make this roller coaster any longer. After a year of convincing, my parents planned a family trip to Cedar Point in June of 2004. As soon as the trip was set, every night I dreamt of Top Thrill Dragster. I would wake up in a sweat, dreaming of this terrifying roller coaster. My brain couldn't comprehend what it would be like to be launched 120 miles an hour in 4 seconds, so every dream was exaggerated. I was so excited to be going to Cedar Point, it flooded my mind day and night. I could hardly wait. Finally, the day was upon us, and I found myself staring at Top Thrill Dragster face to face. We were going to be there for 2 days, so during our first day, I downplayed the coaster by saying things like, "It's such a short ride, is it even really worth waiting in line for?" This was just a disguise for me actually being afraid to ride Top Thrill Dragster. Well, during the second day of our trip, after riding every roller coaster in the park, my brother and I reluctantly got in line for Top Thrill Dragster. It was about an hour wait, and the line was moving pretty good, but it still felt like the longest hour of my life. Every time I heard the train accelerating down the launch, I'd get another boost of adrenaline. My flight or fight response was kicking in, and we weren't even in the station. Well, the moment had arrived. It was like the 100th time I heard, "Baby, I'm ready to go." Blasting over the speakers, so yet another motivation to get on and travel as fast as I can from that annoying song. The train rolls out of the station, pulls up to the launch. I see the catch car moving down the track towards us. The train slowly rolls back into place. I hear us lock into position. My heart is pounding. As soon as the racing lights start flashing, we launch. I scream the entire length of the launch. My fear instantly melts away into euphoria. Top Thrill Dragster turns into a 20-second experience of total bliss. I couldn't believe what I just accomplished. To this day, I still get anxious before strapping in to ride Top Thrill Dragster. I will never get old of riding this amazing roller coaster.
Gentlemen, start your engine! Oh yeah, let's go!
Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. From the first pictures I saw of this attraction, I thought this roller coaster looked meh. I mean, up to this point, there was really only one other Giga coaster in the country, and that was Millennium Force. We didn't have anything else to compare it to, and I wasn't a huge fan of Millennium Force. Sure, it's a fun, intense ride, but it never really lived up to the hype that was thrown at me, so I just assumed I-305 would be a similar experience. Well, after the ride opened, the reports started to trickle in how intense and insane this roller coaster is. In fact, it was too intense that Intamin was forced to reprofile the first turn to lessen the intensity. Still, I wasn't drawn to this attraction. The main reason I wanted to visit King's Dominion was Volcano. Well, finally in 2016, I planned my first trip to King's Dominion. I started checking out some reviews of Intimidator 305, and that's when I started to develop a healthy fear of this insane coaster. I've grayed out before on other roller coasters, including Millennium Force, but the notion of blacking out was a bit scary. The month leading up to my trip, I couldn't get I-305 out of my head. Every time I imagined what it would be like flying through that high-speed turn, my heart started to race and my palms started to sweat. Well, the day finally arrived. As soon as we made it to the park, I ran straight to the back of the park to ride I-305. My first ride was in the front row left seat, which is the best place, in my opinion, to ride this coaster. Intimidator 305 did not disappoint. I grayed out during that first turn. The rest of the roller coaster is just as intense. It never lets up. I rode the roller coaster 3 times in a row, starting off in the front, then to the back, and then for good measure, I took a run in the middle row. 3 rides proved to be enough. My head started hurting, so I took some ibuprofen and waited a while before strapping in again for another 2 more rounds. There are other roller coasters that get me anxious, like the moments leading up to the first drop on any dive coaster. As I mentioned in my review of Shellraiser, any vertical lift is a bit terrifying for me. All flying roller coasters, including the Flying Dutchman models, get me a little unsettled before riding. Heights in general can be a trigger sometimes, but overall, I wouldn't say I'm afraid of heights. I hope this video serves as an encouragement to those who might be afraid to ride a particular roller coaster, or maybe any roller coaster in general. It's natural to feel somewhat afraid before riding a roller coaster. In fact, I say it what makes the experience all the better. Every coaster enthusiast has these moments that make us second guess our choices, but it's all part of the fun. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these mini stories of me getting freaked out before riding certain roller coasters. Let me know in the comments below if there is a roller coaster that still gets you a little anxious before riding. As always, please subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content coming your way by XscreamThrills.